Hey, you people. Yes, you people out there in YouTube land, how do you do? Okay, what shall we talk about today? I have some ideas. Let's talk a bit about movies. How a lot of Hollywood movies, how a lot of Hollywood movies are, especially those big blockbuster ones, they are pushing the movie until next year. You know, they're pushing it to next year until like now. There's nothing to watch at all in the cinema. So even though I'm not going to the cinema because it's uncomfortable and also because, but nah, even at $5, I would have to think twice. You know, we have a lot of comic book movies that still haven't come out yet, like Wonder Woman, like Black Widow, like even some that they are already in the process of making and probably should have finished by now. Shang Chi, the Asian Marvel superhero. Just one thing, Marvel. Just because there was this breakout kid called Crazy Rich Asians, don't think that you can replicate that success onto Shang-Chi, because unlike Crazy Rich Asians, where you see a cast full of Asians, which people haven't seen before in Hollywood. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Besides that, we have seen Asian martial artists that can like kick with good martial artist skill, with powers, and we have seen it our whole lives. So from my childhood, I remember the golden age of Hong Kong movies. Yes, if you didn't know, before all the Hong Kong stunt coordinators all left Hong Kong to go to America to work, there was a huge thriving Hong Kong movie scene. Every year, you will come out with lots and lots of different Hong Kong movies. I remember during Chinese New Year especially, there will be a stupid kind of a slapstick comedy Hong Kong movie that comes out every year for every Chinese New Year. And yep, where it comes out every year, you go and watch it in the movies. It's silly, it's stupid, but sometimes you need that to distress industry in Hong Kong. You have, of course, the iconic, the best, most well-known star from there, Bruce Lee, the Dragon. Even though he didn't do many movies, his impact on the Hong Kong movie scene, the martial arts scene, was huge, mainly because of his charisma, his character, the person he was, that he came on screen. So, yep, Bruce Lee. So just imagine, I assume that Shang-Chi is basically modeled against Bruce Lee. Then just that Bruce Lee is a real person who supposedly kicked so fast that they couldn't even capture his kicks on camera. Or the cameras of the time, he kicked so fast that the camera couldn't capture his kick. Like for example, this person here. You know who that person is? You don't recognize him? See him over here. A few years older, or maybe recognize now, or maybe over here. Again, the same person. Even though he acts the clown, but he is one of our martial artist superstars, Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan originally wasn't trained as a martial artist. He was actually trained as an acrobat, a tumbler in the Peking opera style. But somehow from there, he became a stuntman in movies in Hong Kong. And from there, he started creating movies. And boy, did he make movies. Even though not as well liked as last time, our friend. Yeah, unfortunately, he's, how do I say, not well loved in his home country. For whatever reason, I will leave that to you to find out on by yourselves on the internet. But still, during the 80s and 90s, he was a, how do I call this, an icon of uh, Asian martial art. Even though his style of martial art is more slapstick. Oh, and I also remember one of the memorable things about his movies is that at the end there, after the movie, during the credits, you can see candid scenes where he made mistakes, and a lot of times he put in his accidents where he actually injured himself badly doing the stunts. In his earlier works, he actually did all his stunts personally. He does boast that he has broken every bone in his body before, which is not something that you should boast about. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Then of course you have Jet Li. Jet Li, he learned wushu at a young age in China, and acted in some of my favorite childhood kung fu movies that I watched. The Once Upon a Time in China or the Wong Fei Hong series. He acted also in a few Hollywood movies, so his face is familiar in the West. Most latest is the live action movie Mulan. Another also Asian, how do I say, more contemporary martial artist from Hong Kong too is Donnie Yen. Yes, Donnie Yen. If you see the way he does martial arts, he is definitely genuine martial artist. More of the contemporary. That means that he's still doing movies now, and he did act in the Star Wars movie. So, I mean, I guess you can say he's more well received, and also the latest live action Mulan movie. So you can say that he is Hollywood. He is in Hollywood, I guess. Then you have um, another iconic figure in the 80s and 90s martial arts movie, Sammo Hung, which was a classmate of Jackie Chan when he was learning acrobats in the Beijing Opera. So he too acted in many movies in Hong Kong during that time. Then you have this guy that you don't see much nowadays called Yan Biao, but in the 80s, oh, he did many films. He was very popular during that time too as an action star. Also another classmate of acrobatics in another classmate of Jackie Chan. Yeah, this guy here. Many movies. I remember watching lots of movies, but recently I don't really see him much nowadays. I think he's now working more off screen than on screen. Don't forget also someone who originated somewhere nearer to our neck of the woods here in Singapore, in Malaysia, Michelle Yeoh. Yep, from Crazy Rich Asian fame. She too, how do I say this? Started off her career in Hong Kong as a martial artist, doing martial arts movies. I think she got one really impressive stunt where she drove a motorbike onto a train or something like that. Yeah, that was a very. Then then we saw her first Hollywood exposure was in Hidden Tiger, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Yeah, that one. Then most recently, she acts more of romantic roles now. But she originally did martial arts. But I think for her, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be mistaken, she used to be a dancer first. Can't remember. Anyway, so this and there are many more people from the 80s and 90s that were very popular, and most of them are not around anymore. Mainly because the collapse of the Hong Kong movie scene. I mean, really collapse. I mean, they used to they used to make tons and tons of movies. They used to make stupid slapstick movies, Chinese slapstick movies, Cantonese slapstick movies. You know, especially Stephen Chow used to be very popular. Uh, Whether he's a martial artist, very debatable. You can Stephen Chow used to make lots of movies in Hong Kong. They used to make lots of in I think the 80s that time, a lot of horror or comedy horror, those Chinese vampire movies. Yeah, Chinese vampire, zombie mixed kind of movies, which they make tons of those. Oh my god, so many of them, so many different versions, you know, and each one slightly different, and each one the zombie vampire gets stronger. Somehow in each movie, you know, it evolves and gets a bit more stronger, and the people who are supposed to catch them and stop them have to do more things to stop them. You know, so they used to have lots of those. They used to have lots of martial arts movies, uh, detective movies. Yeah, no, there were quite a few different types of trends, different types of. One thing about about Hong Kong movies was they used to follow trends. You know, what was popular at that time, make a big hit, and then they will make everyone will start. Okay, everyone will start making that type of movie until they drain every cent out of that idea, and then someone will make hit another hit, and then they will do the same with that idea. So that's what they used to do a lot. Yeah. So those were the good old days of Hong Kong cinema. Yep. Where in Asia, I remember, you know, you can go to cinema. Either you watch uh, a Hollywood movie, or alternatively a Hong Kong movie. We don't have any much selection other than that last time. At the cinemas, when the cinemas were, you know, we didn't have multiplexes. You know, you only have one building, and then that cinema is that cinema. So they will show what shows they have at that period of time there. Yeah, no multiplexes. There was a time when even the seats were free sitting. You just get a ticket, go in there and sit down. And then later on they start to give you assigned seating. And then the seats used to be wooden seats with cushion, you know, where the swivel. Yeah, so when you're not sitting on it, the seat will go up. Then you put it down and sit down there. Yeah, and then dark places. And then there's also the general seating, and then you have the VIP seating on top, which you pay extra too. So yeah, memories. And so this brings us to the end of our, I guess, adventure here today. As per usual, like, share, and subscribe. I got Patreon. I also got PayPal. You can support me on those, or if you want, you can also just watch more of my old videos. And lastly, but the most important thing, don't forget to join me for my next adventure, or chat time, or my food adventures where I explore Singapore food, hawker food. I will see you guys around. Bye bye.